Dobar dan i dobrodošli na MBA Open Days Zagrebačke škole ekonomije i menadžmenta. Moje ime je Marija Oblaković, voditeljica sam marketinga na Zagrebačkoj školi ekonomije i menadžmenta i čast mi se što smo se okupili u ovako velikom broju. Good afternoon and welcome to Zagreb School of Economics and Management MBA Open Day. My name is Marija Oblaković. I'm head of marketing at Zagreb School of Economics and Management, and it is my honor to welcome you at this event. Because of a lot of participants, this event is organized through Zoom in the form of a webinar, where communication between panelists and the audience takes place through question and answer, chat, and by raising your hands, all the icons you have on your Zoom menu. We invite you to actively participate during our event and share with us your opinion, comments, and questions. Now, let me introduce my colleagues. Here with me today with us is our Associate Dean for Graduate MBA Program, Associate Professor, Doctor of Science, Maja Martinović. The Associate Dean will present the Graduate MBA Program of Zagreb School of Economics and Management with all studying possibility of the school. The topic of today's lecture is how to manage your boss. Therefore, I present you Mr. Bruno Philipi, executive at resident at Zagreb School of Economics and Management, who gained his work experience working on 3 continents in 23 countries. The ex-president of Coca-Cola Asia and Coca-Cola Pacific is here today with us. So, Professor Philipi, the floor is yours. I will now share your presentation.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Maria. I will be doing this only in English because we have allocated around 30 minutes for this presentation. And as Maria said, I was lucky enough and in the right time at the right place to have this opportunity to work all around the world. My last 2-3 positions were president of China for Coca-Cola, president of Pacific. I spent over 10 years in Asia, later in Germany, and I retired in 2017. It was always my wish to have a soft landing. You know, when you work as a CEO for 30 years and you have 3 secretaries and 2 drivers and you have planes, you know, available to you, it's difficult to go from 100% to 0 in basically in one day. And it was always my wish to end my career, as I said, soft landing it's called, as a lecturer, as a, I wouldn't say professor, that's too ambitious, but as a lecturer to share what I have learned so far with the young people. So when I returned to Zagreb from Sydney, I evaluated all the schools and institutions in Croatia, and I was very thorough about that. And I realized that the best school in Croatia is Zrćem. So this is why I chose and elected to teach at Zagreb School of Economics and Management. So what do I do? What do I do? I don't work hard anymore, that's for sure. And I'm leading the supply chain management MBA as an academic director or program director, if you will. I also have one course which is called Change Management. And I also lecture strategy and leadership. So this is where my experience comes very useful, and I hope you will enjoy today's short lecture. So it's called managing up without sucking up. And if you move forward, Maria, we need to be a little bit patient with, that's two slides too far, but doesn't matter. This is, I told you what I do, but I wanted to share with you a few photos of what I actually like doing. So I like fast bikes, fast cars, fast sailboats, and fast moving consumer goods. And this is where my area of expertise, if you will, should lie. And today, Maria, this will mean, let's click. Yes, thank you. Today we're gonna go through introduction to this topic, which is actually very rare and rarely taught at schools and very rarely dealt with, but I think it's extremely important. I hope you will see that when we finish. We'll go through common mistakes, misconceptions, myths about how you manage your boss. And most importantly, I hope you will see and learn how to create a relationship with your boss. So if you look first, what are the sources of your power? And I'm talking about mainly when you are in the organization. Could be the company, could be the family, could be non-profit organization, but what's important is that you have people around you. So positional power is derived from where you are. And it is legitimate because if you are the boss, you are the boss, period. And with that position, you have two ways how to manage. One is to reward people, and the other is to force people. So you have all that at your disposal. So rewarding is a carrot, and being coercive is the stick. There is another source of power which you derive from being likable. And for example, I'm sure I'm not likable. Maria is very likable, and she has a lot of power from that part of her human being. But I am a little bit knowledgeable, and I am an expert in certain areas. So people refer to me for an advice. Therefore, I'm sourcing the power from my knowledge. And the last point says, in the new age, if you have information, you're very powerful, particularly if you're the only person who has that information. So that much about sources of power. In every organization, I'm putting you in the center. Maybe some of you don't work yet, but will work soon. Maybe some of you are already managers or senior managers. Unfortunately, I can't see you and I don't know who you are, but I'm putting you in the center of the universe. And if you click further, you will see that you typically, if you are a manager or a supervisor, you have people who report to you. This is the bottom part of the slide. You have people left and right of you. This is the horizontal line, and these are your peers. You know, if you're a head of department, these are other heads of departments. If you're a supervisor on the line, there are other supervisors. And then at the end, you have your boss. And I guarantee you that everybody has a boss. So even if you're a chief executive, as I was and general manager for over 30 years, there is always a boss who is above you. So if you are a chairman and CEO, there is a board above you. If you're a member of the board, there is a shareholder assembly. So there is always somebody you report to. If you're in private company, that would typically be the owner of the company. So you are never in the vacuum. You always have somebody that you report to. So what do you use for people below you, for your teams? Let's go back. You use a management tool which is called situational leadership. And that is a set of tools which say, I manage people depending on their readiness. If they're very senior and experienced, I just delegate. If they're new and young, I tell them exactly what they need to do by when and how. Horizontally, you have little power. So you depend on your influence, on your reputation, how to make people follow you and help you and be on the same page with you. When you manage up, you have no power. So remember this. You have no positional power when you manage your boss. So if you move next, so this is why I designed a small toolbox for managers, which consists of several lectures, several items. First one is taking charge. That means what do you do when you are promoted or when you are appointed to the new position? This is about your first 100 days. When you survive 100 days, you as a manager need to create a team. And we usually go through the phases of storming, norming, performing. Now you're a boss. And if you don't delegate, you will certainly die because you will continue doing everything by yourself and you will not be a boss, you will be actually a slave to yourself. Situational leadership and managing I explained, and managing up is the topic of today. I'm also a coach to CEOs of large companies and also work as a consultant. And I can tell you that among all these topics, the most wanted one is managing up. This is where people really need help and advice and how to advise and coaching, how to progress through their careers. I will start with sharing with you some common beliefs. And you will see the first one, and you might be part of that, you might believe in that, but if you look at the next few sentences, I'm sure you will find some of them that you believe in. For example, boss is so much higher in the company than me. Yes. Smarter than me, not necessarily. More experienced, probably. Longer in the company, maybe yes, maybe no. More resources than me, probably yes. And what I'm trying to prove here, that this statement is wrong. So my boss is not dependent on me. This is the wrong statement. And let me tell you one story. I was appointed as a president of China, Coca-Cola China. 1.3 billion people, huge business, extremely important for the company. Before me being appointed, I would normally see the CEO of the company 2 times a year. We had the global meetings. I was one of the presidents. It was only 15 of us who were managing the business of Coca-Cola in the world. So I would see the boss 2 times a year. When I was appointed a president of Coca-Cola China, 2 months after I was appointed, our private plane landed in Shanghai. So we had 2 Gulfstream 5 planes, and CEO of the company landed. He said, now we're gonna tour the country, and you need to convince me that everything is okay. Since then, for 2 consecutive years, he would land in Shanghai each quarter. And we would tour the country, fly for 3, 4, 5 days. And why do you think that is? Unfortunately, we can't have a real-time interaction. So I will give you the answer. No, even it's not micromanagement. Thank you. It's good that I see the questions. That's very good. Thank you, Maria. China was responsible, and with that myself, for 40% of the global growth of the Coca-Cola company. And it was the first question on the Wall Street, and it was the first question of all analysts every quarter. How is China doing? Which means if I'm not delivering on the growth of China, which was again 40% of the whole company, then my boss is failing. What do I want to say? He was extremely dependent on me, and he couldn't let me fail. And that's why he was flying every quarter. It's not to micromanage me, it's to make sure that I have all the resources to succeed. And I give you one example also. I told him, look, if you want to grow at the pace of 15, 14% a year, I need to build 1 plant every 3 to 6 months. And he said, it's okay. No problem. Just make sure that you build those bloody plants. Okay. So, Maria, if we click, I argue that boss is dependent on you, his success depends on your success, and if you fail or you're being dishonest, you can severely hurt your boss. So that's one myth. Let's move to the second one. I'm not dependent on my boss. Well, that's one easier to explain. You can read this by yourselves. And many people say, well, bosses changes, I stay, and everything is okay. I don't think so. Second point is very typical for multinationals. And when you have a lot of countries, like we had like 190 something, all countries in the world except North Korea and Myanmar, you have a boss who lands, and this is I'm going to introduce a term if you haven't heard. It's a corporate seagull. Corporate seagull means that he flies in, shits on everybody, and flies out. That's a corporate seagull. And because of that, people have a belief that bosses don't understand what's going in the field. But I argue it is your job to explain them that. So if we move on, you are dependent. You are dependent on your boss. Because if he doesn't give you resources, if he doesn't put you in the network, if he doesn't support you, you will fail. And not to forget, boss can also always fire you whenever he wants or she wants. So this is false. Next one. People, and if you click further, you will see that many people believe that boss, it's written here, magically knows. What do you need to get the job done? Well, if you manage, like I had sometimes, 20 countries, I can't know what or in China, 23 general managers were reporting to me. You cannot always know what these people need. So I argue that it is your job to convey and explain and ask your boss, what do you need to be successful? And therefore, he is successful. I will talk a little bit later about this. If we go further, Maria, click further, please. I don't need to manage my boss. He or she is managing me. False. Again, this is not true. And let me take the fourth point. Like managing upwards, people, when they're young and when they're unexperienced and maybe have dreams about how the world works, they say, I'm not political. Well, let me tell you, political always have a negative connotation. But political can also mean you're networked. You know what's going on. And I can tell you, if you're not political, that means you're not influential. So remember this. If you're not political, you're not influential. And the higher you go up, the more influential you need to be. Because, yes, you might have 40,000 people reporting to you, like I had in China, but there was only 2 people above me, president and CEO. So if I'm not influential, they're not going to listen to me. And the key of this is to understand and accept that you and your boss are in position of mutual dependence. Both of you can make mistakes. Your boss makes mistakes, you make mistakes. And the consequence of you not having a relationship with your boss and you don't have a good, like they want to say, chemistry, if you will. This is hurting the company. The higher you are, the bigger the losses. And now on the next slide, we're going to recap that. Open the whole thing. Thank you, Maria. I would like you to remember these 4 points and understand that these are all false statements. This is all wrong. Also, they're very dangerous for you, for the company, for your boss, and you need to avoid and stop believing in any of this if you ever believed it. Now I'm gonna show you one statement which is very common in the corporations, and I believe it's true. The first one says, people don't leave companies, they leave their bosses. So if we ignore the fact of companies going bankrupt and having big economic troubles, in most cases, what you have heard is like, I cannot work for that person anymore. He is an idiot. He is a sadist. He is a micromanager. He or she is this and that. And in many, many cases, research says 90% plus, people would like to stay. But their bosses are those people who make their life uncomfortable. What I'm adding here is my statement, which says, that's true, but there are cases in which it is not all the boss's fault. And the next couple of slides, I'll try to defend this thesis. Let's start with the most important thing, and that is the relationship. It is not, he is the boss, I'm subordinate. There are many other facets of the relationship. Like in love, it's not only love. There are many other things which direct the relationship, the style, the dressing, the this and that, the travel, whatever, and that all together creates a relationship. So if we look at the first thing you need to do, you need to understand your boss. I would say you can also, that also applies to understand your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your mother or father or your son or daughter. But in this case, you need to make an effort to understand what are your boss's goals and objectives, personal goals and objectives, pressures. You need to also do, I call that SWOT your boss. You know? SWOT your boss. Make sure that you know what are his strengths and blind spots and weaknesses. Most important of all, make sure that you know what boss is expecting from you. And I'll tell you a story on this one also, if you allow me. My whole career, I was lucky to be in the growth markets. So after the fall of Berlin Wall, they made me responsible for Eastern Europe. And we were growing like crazy, and I made my name in the Coca-Cola company in Atlanta, like a growth manager. Okay, that's why when they needed a person to manage China, they appointed me. Okay, because I am a growth guy. So my boss was, as I said, there was 15 of us, division presidents. I talked to my boss, my president of the Coca-Cola company, and when I was going to, after China, I was going to Pacific, he told me, look, Bruno, in South Pacific, we didn't have growth for 5 years. Okay? I'm a growth man. You know, I'm the growth guy, you know, I'm famous for growth. So in the first 6 months, I spent $150 million of marketing on getting growth. We launched Black Coca-Cola Zero. This came from Australia in 2010. We launched that campaign with names, if you remember, you know. That was back in 2010. And then the whole world took that campaign, like, if you like a Coke and if you like Maria, share a Coke with Maria. You know? So here comes a mid-year review. And I present all these successes, and I was, you know, all over the moon. How we managed to grow after 5 years, and we grew, okay, 3-4% in that market. That's a lot. And I realized my boss was extremely pissed off. And I said, and I present, and then he said, well, where is the growth? I said, here it is, you know, 4% we grow on volume, on liters. We grow 4% on liters. And then he says, yeah, but I didn't mean liters. I meant dollars. Jesus Christ, you know. So he wanted to have a growth on profit, not on revenue. And I was thinking, how can I be such an idiot? That I never asked for clarification. What does he mean by growth? Because it was obviously two things. And he was so pissed off. And I was making $1 billion in profits in South Pacific. That he ended the meeting, he said, this is a very bad meeting. I hope you'll never have it again. And one-on-one, he said, look, if you fall $1 below, if you fall $1 below 1 billion on EBIT, I'm gonna fire you. So I hope this illustrates the need of understanding your boss and understanding his expectations. And that's a sad but a true story. Let's move on. Open the, yeah. You also need to understand yourself, SWOT yourself. You need to SWOT yourself. And then the bottom part of the slide talks about two extremes. You know, one extreme is when you fight authority for no reason. And there are people like that, okay? You tell them to do this, like your children, everybody thinks their children are like that. Go and clean your room. No, I'm not going to do it. Teenagers rebel against parents. More mature people, I mean more senior, older, could be also looking in the boss for a parent. That's another extreme. So they will do whatever boss is telling them to do, but they expect in return that the boss always takes care of them as a father or mother. So these are two extremes. Imagine it as one line. You just need to do one thing. Position yourself on this line. Are you really against authority, or you want a father in your boss? So where do you fit? Then once you put yourself on that line, you modify your behavior so it doesn't create trouble for you. On this one, this is extremely important, you know. The boss's working style. I'm going to talk later about one example. Does your boss likes reading or he likes talking? Does he like to talk to you about issues or he wants to read the report? If you don't know that, you're in trouble. How often does he want to interact, or she? Is she or he a detailed person, or it's a person who only looks at the issues from the helicopter? Is he a person who avoids conflicts or thrives on challenge? So this is extremely important thing to know, so that you can adjust your working style to the bosses and find something which works for both of you together. Here is a tip. I always want to make my lectures a little bit practical, not so theoretical. So if your boss is a listener, you need to come to him or to her and explain everything in person, face to face, wherever, in the meeting, in cafeteria, at lunch, at dinner, it doesn't matter. Once you do that in person and you have the interaction, you follow up with something in writing. And why you need to follow up? Because listeners tend to forget and then tend to interpret your discussion in the way that suits them. But if you follow up with a hardcore memo, they're not in that position. So you lock it. Your agreement from your dinner, you lock up with the memo. And if your boss is a reader, you send in something in writing, report, proposal, I don't know, whatever. And once you make sure that he or she read it, then you come and discuss it in person. And since you have sent it already, it's already locked. So it's very little place for maneuvering, that the boss starts dancing. If he or she dances, you again send a new memo and lock it. So that's about trying to find a compatible work style. There is another thing. When it comes to decisions and comes to management of people, you have two kinds of people as extremes. as extremes, of course. High involvement wants to know everything, and delegating people who only want to know the top of the problem and possibly solution. So for those who want to be highly involved, involve them early on, talk to them frequently, discuss issues frequently, and they'll be happy. And if your boss wants to delegate, you make sure that what he or she delegated to you, you understood correctly. Because he's not going to follow up. He will just wait for the thing to be done. So you check it, you do it, and you report back that it's done. See how totally different these two things are? And if you apply the second one, like low involvement, on high involvement person, you are finished. So let me give you a story about that, because it's important. After this travel on the private jets and everything throughout China, when CEO realized and the president that I would probably manage China well, and we already showed 15% growth, on his departure, and then he stopped coming, he said, okay, Bruno, you manage China, I manage everything else. What does that mean, everything else? Government, China government, China-US government relations, public opinion, our PR stand in the world regarding China. He would represent me and everybody else in the head office. There is plenty of things that he was doing which I didn't have to do. My job was to deliver growth. Okay, that was great for me. Then I was appointed to Pacific. And we had a quarterly review, and the new president came in. And I presented the results and what we are doing, and I said, among everything else, we are launching new Sprite. Okay, and he said, okay, let me see the label. Excuse me? He said, I want to see the label. Look, I'm having 20 relaunches every year. I don't have a label with me. And then he said, well, you're not prepared for this meeting. I said, I'm prepared for this meeting. I am showing you my profit and loss statement, my balance sheet, my marketing programs, but I'm not showing you the right label. Well, if you continue like that, he said, we can not work together. That means you need to leave, because I'm not going anywhere. I said, okay, hold on. I said, hold on, just a second. Give me 5 minutes. So I call marketing director, bring in all body labels that we have, all marketing programs that you have, bring everything here, because he wants to see everything. Okay, you see this? Again, my mistake. I didn't figure out that he wants to see the details. Let's move on. There is one point on this slide. I'm gonna cut it short to the chase. When it comes to mutual expectations, it is like with the relationship. It is your job. It is the job of subordinate to create a relationship and to understand and to have mutual expectations clear. And it goes both ways. But again, you need to make sure that everything is clear. The research says, all the research and all the academic information and in practice, typically bosses would like to have more information than they're getting. So my advice to you is, it's better to over communicate, if that's possible, or communicate more than you think you need to, until you find that fine balance, right? So better to communicate more than to communicate less. Second part of the slide is about killing the messenger. Yeah? And all bosses will tell you, I'm not killing the messenger, I want to hear the truth. That's bullshit. Nobody wants to hear bad news. Nobody. Even if it's from your family or from your boyfriend or girlfriend, you don't want to listen to bad news. So how do you deal with that? If you imagine in accounting the T account, yeah, and you have pluses and minuses. So make sure you have a lot of pluses. And every time you can get a plus, make sure that you have a plus, 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 plus. So when the time comes for minus, you have a credit and you survive. The best way to deal with bringing the bad news is to bring the bad news together with the solution. Because then there is actually no problem. You said we have this problem and here is the solution. Check. Boss says, great job. Brilliant. You'll be promoted. Let's move on. Open the slide, please. The key point on this slide is, don't waste his or her time. Don't go into unimportant trivia and trivial things. Forget about all the small things. Save your share of voice and share of time for the important things. The best way to get promoted, and that's another topic of some other lectures that I have, is some companies have a practice that they put you in the position of your boss informally, and they check on you whether you're capable of doing it before they give you the job. So if you can do something for your boss, do it. Take part of his job. He will be very, very grateful and appreciate. And now let me give you the recipe to get fired. Let's finish with this. If you want to get fired surely, maybe not quickly, but surely, you come to your bosses and give promises on which you don't deliver. Then you hide things. You don't disclose all the truth. You miss deadlines. You don't understand your boss personally, privately, professionally, and you don't know her priorities. And when something hits the fan, you cover up, you lie, and of course, you always blame others. So in general, if you want to get fired, be dishonest, and be undependable. And this is the last three slides that we have. We will recap this lecture. Please click Maria. This is just a summary of what we have been talking about. Make sure the context in which your boss operates. Goals, objectives, pressures, SWOT him. What is his style? That's critical. What is his working style? Next one says, SWOT yourself. Make sure that you adapt your style to the style of your boss. Find a balance and figure out, do you look for an enemy or you're looking for a father when you look to your boss? And the last one is critical to develop relationship. Fit and balance the styles of both. You know expectations, he knows expectations, inform properly, be honest and dependable, and don't waste the time of your boss. And if you move to the last slide, which says the end, let me just summarize. Managing your boss, and I don't think you have heard anything here about sucking up. It's about a relationship. So you need to understand your boss professionally, both privately. He's also or she's also a human being. Don't forget that. Don't forget that after your family, your friends, boss is probably the third most important person in your life. So dedicate some effort, dedicate some time to have a relationship. Make his life easier. This will very quickly reflect on your promotions and your career. Show him respect. Show your loyalty. And without sucking up, I can tell you, and with this I will finish, just a little love will go very long way. I thank you for listening to me. As I said at the beginning, me as Bruno Filipi, I recommend Zagreb School of Management for your studies. If you're going to select the studies among all the schools in Croatia, I recommend MBA and EMBA at ZSHM. And I wish you all the best in your private, personal lives, and all the best in your future careers. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Professor Filipi, for a very interesting lecture. I think we have some questions, so please stay with us. Okay, we have some comments. Thank you very much. This was very good. Thank you. We have a question. Who was your best boss and why?
Let
me remember and decide who was it.
I had two best bosses. Well, I probably had like 15 of them. But the best boss I had, two of them, I can distinguish. One, his name was Tom Galek. He was American. Tom Galek gave me the opportunity to move from being marketing for 23 countries, marketing director for 23 countries in Europe, to become a general manager. Because that was a dilemma whether I go for marketing, global marketing Atlanta, or I go into general management. So he, sit me down and said, what do you want? I said I had enough of marketing for 6 years, 23 countries, 43 countries, 65 countries, 100 countries, it's all the same. And he said, what do you want? I said, give me the smallest country in the world, but I want to be a general manager. And he said, okay, I give you Slovenia. Slovenia is one of the smallest countries. And I spent 3 years learning how to become a general manager when I was 29. Okay, 29 years old. So that's why I put him as one of my best bosses, because he gave me the opportunity at such a young age, which then allowed me to, for 30 years later on, I was general manager, managing director, CEO, blah, blah, blah. Probably Tom was the best.
Thank you for your answer. We have one question regarding our MBA concentration. Domago says that I'm currently finishing third year bachelor program in tax law in Zagreb Faculty of Law. Which the same MBA course would you recommend for me? He probably meant concentration, MBA concentration, but so he's studying law now.
I think this is more a question for Maja than for me.
Yeah, it depends. What are the interests of you? Are you working somewhere? In which direction you want to develop your career? Right, Professor Maja? We can maybe answer that question at the end of the second part of our event.
Okay.
Maybe it will be clearly.
I will answer it now because I think that actually law in general is a very important part of the business, and I think that Bruno will say yes, that is, because if you work in any kind of a firm, institution, and similar, besides economic and business administration knowledge, you have to know law. And that is very important part of job for each manager, and it's very good to have a good lawyer with you when you are like dealing with the contracts and similar. Also in each country, you have to know the law to work as a manager and similar. So I will say that the answer will be any concentration, because if you know law, then you have to know business administration. So that depends on your actually plans, future plans, and if you would like to see yourself in a supply chain, then you will choose that concentration. In other cases, if you would like to deal with audit, maybe then you will choose like auditing, taxes, and other concentration, or finance, or marketing, or that depends on your, I will say, plans and your what do you think you will work in a future business life. But in any case, all our courses are from very, very good, very useful, very important in a business life. And maybe it's important to add that all the courses are lectured by professors and lecturers who are very knowledgeable and very experienced in the business world. So you can expect the same thing as you can see here in the classroom. That will be my answer. If you have any additional questions, you can ask me now or later.
Thank you. But we have one more question for Professor Filipi. How did you come to Coca-Cola? What is your educational background?
Quickly, I replied to an ad in Večernji List. So after I graduated from University of Economics on the course which was called Informatics or Information System Design, I went to serve the military services, and the second largest company in the world in computer science, digital, pulled me out of the military and gave me a job as a salesman. Why I'm saying that? Because it's an interesting thing in the history of change management and the business, is that we were the second largest company after IBM. Okay. Then they asked, our customers were asking us to give them PCs, laptops. And we said, no. We are not going to deal with that architecture anywhere. 2 years later, we went bankrupt. So Digital Equipment Corporation, with 150,000 employees, was acquired by Compaq, and they fired us, including myself. So I was out of the job. I was 27, no job, no nothing. And the ad came in the Večernji List. Coca-Cola is looking for marketing professionals. I knew nothing about marketing. I was a sales guy. I was selling computers. Still, I replied. And out of 200, 300 candidates, they elected me and 2 other people in, at that time, Yugoslavia. So they hired 3 of us in Croatia. So it was based on the ad in the newspapers.
Thank you for sharing your experience and your career.
My pain.
Beginner, yeah.
Sharing my pain.
Okay, so we recommend you to read the Večernji List. Maybe there is more interesting ads for the job positions and all other newspapers. Be informed. Thank you, Professor, for your lecture. Thank you for answering all these questions. Please stay with us until the end of the program. I'm sure we will have more questions for you later. Now, I would once more welcome our Associate Professor, Doctor of Science, Maja Martinović, who is also Associate Dean for Graduate MBA Program and Chair of Marketing and Tourism Department at Zagreb School of Economics and Management. She is a lecturer of MBA program of Barcelona Management Institute, and today, Associate Dean will present us a graduate MBA program of Zagreb School of Economics and Management. So please, Professor, you can share your presentation and tell us more about what Zagreb School of Economics and Management can offer to all the participants that are interested in further education.
Okay. Thank you, Maria. Can you see my presentation? Okay.
Yes.
Ok, ja ću prezentaciju održati na engleskom jeziku, ali zato što imamo sudionike i na engleskom koji govore engleski jezik, ali pitanja možete postavljati i na engleskom i na hrvatskom jeziku i u chat i usmeno. Okay, so I will start my presentation. Here you can see our campus and facilities. So that is a very good part of the city, I will say, along the Ilica Street. And here you can see the building and living room, classroom. And we are always starting our presentation with our mission statement. Here you can see our Dean, Maja, and our mission, because ZSEM is a mission-driven system. And in this mission, we would like to always say that we are transferring values. That means ethical standards, corporate social responsibility issues and sustainability today, also, which is very important. And then knowledge from all all parts of business administration, I will say. That means management, marketing, finance, accounting, IT, law, business law knowledge, then supply chain, tourism, human resources, and similar. And then skills, which are also very important for our students. And the skills are mainly, I will say, critical and analytical thinking, then presentation skills, that mean oral and written presentation, and leadership in teamwork. These skills are very important for leaders, for managers in today in the business world. So we are transferring that to our students during our classes and other contents. So here you can see our accreditations and awards. 2 years ago, we went through the process of reaccreditation by Agency for Science and Higher Education here in Croatia. And I will say, we gained the very high grades in all the standards. And in that process, and also in the process of audit, after that process, the expert committee says that we are like the best actually in all those standards in general in the field of economics in Croatia. So we are very proud of that. Also, we are very proud that we achieved ASCSB accreditation in 2013. And it's also very important that we are ranked at the QS World University ranking, and also that we are at the list of the top business schools of Ed Universal ranking. These credentials are very important for us because that is why we have a lot of very well-known international partners also. In ZSEM, we have these study programs, 3 undergraduate programs: economics and management, business law and economics, business mathematics and economics. Today, we are talking more about the MBA program. And besides that, we have also a Doctor of Business Administration program in cooperation with Sheffield Hallam University. So now we will talk more about the graduate program with 60 ECTS, that is a European credit system, and the credits from that system, and the length of that program is 1 year. When we talk about the MBA program, in general, it's very important to say that here we have 10 courses and 2 electives. That is optional, of course. And the language is Croatian and English language, because I will say mostly it's English, but some courses are delivered also in Croatian, because they are like about very specific topics related to Croatian business practice, for example, Croatian taxes and similar. After this program, you will gain title Master of Business Administration, which is very well known all around the world. And that is level 7 of European qualification framework. So that means the student exchange on that level. In enrollment requirements, you can see here that we need for that 140 ECTS or 180 with one differential year. That means 60 ECTS. So during the program, besides lectures, we are working with a modern, I will say, very contemporary methods using case study, computer simulation. We have lots of them, for example, Capstone, HR simulation, Markstrat. Besides that, we are using also Moodle, Lumen platform for e-learning, and all our courses are also living there, because that is very important support for our students. And every course you can see also on that platform. What that means? That means that there you can find syllabi, then some cases, working materials, maybe some quizzes and similar. To all our students, we will have also, we will give also literature, which you need for all the courses, and ebook also is available. During the process, we are using Web of Science, Scopus, EBSCO, and other resources for scientific articles. In enrollment requirements, it's very important to make the difference between the students or candidates with the economic study programs and which finish something from non-economic area. So if you are from non-economic area, and we have a lot of students from the fields of, for example, students or engineers or professors of language or doctors or from any other fields, then you have to have that one semester before. That is a semester in which you will have then 5 courses. That is principles of economics, marketing, management, finance, and accounting, which are very important to gain the knowledge in general field of economy and business administration. And after that, our students are capable to follow all the content with all our other students from the economic area. So that is one thing. And the other is if you have 180 ECTS from the schools before, or the program that you finished before, then you will have that one differentiator year with 10 courses. And that is also a requirement for those candidates. In MBA concentration, we have 9 of them. You can see the list here. And I will say that all those concentrations are offering specialization in different areas. And the difference between them mostly is that all specialized MBA programs, such as accounting, audit and taxes, finance and banking, human resource management, marketing, supply chain management, tourism, hospitality and events, they are delivering during the week. And executive MBA and global executive MBA got a different schedule. The schedule for those 2 concentrations are mostly during the weekend, like Friday afternoon and then Saturday. And but all the schedules are completely adapted to the students, participants who are busy and who work all the day, so after the 5 o'clock. Here you can see the MBA, I will say, experience with the lectures, simulations, case studies. Here, it's very important to emphasize the networking, and then student exchange, where you can find also additional degree programs. And as I said, 2 elective courses are optional. Then we have internship and at the end, a graduate thesis. Maybe just to add with these 2 programs, executive and global executive MBA, as I said that the lectures are during the weekend without neglecting personal and professional obligations. That means 10 courses in 20 weekends and 12 months. So in Global Executive MBA program, also students will visit our partners in Singapore and in Luxembourg. And we will work here together with our partner institution, H-Farm in Italy. Today, you had a presentation from Professor Bruno Philipi. He is a professor from MBA in Supply Chain Management. Here you can see the courses, other courses also, which we have here in Supply Chain Management Concentration. That is first in the full semester software packages in supply chain, then maximization and measurement of company value. That is a capstone simulation. Then controlling quantitative methods, then supply chain management course, financial management, business ethics, corporate social responsibility and sustainability, operations management, strategy, distribution and logistics. And then after that, you will have internship and at the end, graduate thesis. In all this path and story of our MBA, you can also go somewhere to for one semester or for some courses and similar in international exchange program, because we have more than 150 international partners in North and South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia. And here you can see the list of those institutions. All those information you can find also on our website. Maybe just to say a few words additional about additional degree programs. We have 5 of them. These institutions can give you like other diploma if you are in the program of additional degree. And for example, you can see here the list of their concentrations. At a Catch Business School, for example, you can find global management, purchasing and supply chain, management, finance, and marketing. In other institutions, you will find other concentrations, so you can find the list here. These programs are generally, I will say, very attractive to our students. And this is something which, for which you can gain like additional information in our international office, or mostly I will say international office. Other information according to all MBA program, you can like ask for them in the student office, or you can write me. But maybe it's important to say that the international office is working with our international partners and helping our students in student exchange issues. Also, we have a career center, which is a center for helping students in career development and also in other issues, for example, in networking in general. That can be workshops, projects, or research with our partners from business world. Here you can see some of them, and all our students, I will say, are part of the huge network, and in that network today we have more than 2,800 alumni. That is a very important. I think that in general, our students find that networking is a very important part of this type of the education. That is something which you'll find also in testimonials. For example, here you can see one from Milan Sladojevic, our alumni, and he said also that for him was very important something as interactive lectures and intensive group projects, because usually you are passing at the MBA program, you are passing your exam during the group project in the classroom, online also, and that is something which we are encouraging to work in group projects and also individual projects. So that is his testimonial. We have the other also from Hilal. She said that she studied with colleagues from Europe, America, Australia, Asia, and it's a very important also that here you can see and you can find people from all around the world, and she had an opportunity to meet different cultures. And that is something which our students find also very useful and interesting. Maybe it's important to say also that we are encouraging always writing of this final thesis in the manner that that is something applicable. Because we have all concept of our program is that that needs to be something very useful and applicable in any sense, and all our professors, lecturers are people from the practice and got a huge and extensive practical knowledge from all fields, all those fields from the business administration. So you can find here a mentor which can direct you in some, I will say, topics from your interest. So that is, here you can find a list of some applicable final thesis and topics as an examples. So we are usually encouraging students to write something from their job or to write the business plan for the startup or similar. So that is about the final thesis. That is my, I hope, short presentation about MBA in general. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask me. You're welcome. And if you need anything else, and if you have like any specific questions according to your status or your interests and similar, you can write me here. You can find my email.
Thank you, Associate Dean, for a very nice presentation. If you have questions, please write it in the chat or Q&A, or just raise your hand. We also want to hear your voice. We want to communicate with us in that way. In the meantime, we have a question for Professor Filipi. So, do you teach on our MBA program, and what courses do you teach?
I teach some, you know, a little bit esoteric matters, you know. As I'm not an academic person like Professor Maja, and I do not have a PhD in anything apart from running very large companies. I select the topics which are of importance to young people and to managers, which are not typically taught or lectured on actually any other university. For example, change management, then parts of leadership and parts of strategy. And whenever somebody invites me to be a guest lecturer, I happily accept it.
Okay, thank you. Do we have more questions? Maybe for regarding our MBA program or regarding the Professor Filipi on the topic of his experience and what he can share with us. Okay, here's one question regarding our alumni. Where do they work? Where do you said that you are following their careers after the graduation? Can you please share with us information about supply chain management students? Where do they work? I don't know if Professor, you're here, or you want to answer on that question, or you want me to answer it?
Maria,
Okay.
I think we can answer.
Okay. So our students, we have students on supply chain management, and they are actively active in business community. They are working in companies like Consum, Coca-Cola, Primat Logistica, that are some of the companies in Croatia, in Zagreb, but also in Austria, in Bayersdorf. That is the big company. Some of the brands well known are Nivea and Eucerin. So we have students with interesting business background that came here on supply chain management program. Thank you for your question.
Can you repeat the question? My computer just dropped dead and Zoom link. Sorry for that.
It's okay. The question was, where do supply chain management students work?
Well, let me tell you, first of all, something about the importance of supply chain management in general. Although we have so many other concentrations, as Maja call it, which are in the area of finance, in the area of pure management, in law, in mathematics, everything else. Why is supply chain so important? Because if you look around yourself, now I'm asking the person who asked the question, is there anything that you can touch, feel, or see that was not in supply chain management of any kind? So look at your computer, look at your phone, look at the desk and the chair that you're sitting at. Look at the apartment where you live or hotel room or whatever. There is absolutely nothing that was not in the supply chain. Nothing. Even your food was a part of the supply chain. So that topic covers everything around ourselves, everything about our lives. And it is extremely easy to find a job in supply chain management. Why is that so? Because there are not many people who study it. And companies want that more and more. Let me give you one trend. The trend in supply chain management is deglobalization. Okay, that's the most important trend today, where because of conflicts between USA and China and other geopolitical issues, the supply chain, which was reliant on Asia, which was reliant on actually Guangdong, a south province of China, is falling apart. And now all countries are getting their supply and manufacturing back to the countries where they can control. Today, if you want to buy a car and you design specifics of your car, Audi, Fiat, Volkswagen, you will probably wait 1 year because the supply chain from Asia is broken. There are not enough chips, there are not enough microprocessors, and the thing is completely falling apart. I have some wealthy friends who came to buy a Porsche 911 okay? And that car costs 2 million kuna. And the reply from the dealer was, of course, you can pay 2 million kuna, but you will get your car in 2024. Why is that? Because we don't have chips. So, indirect reply to your question is, there is not one student who has finished supply chain that he didn't get a job right away. Or, in other words, these jobs are in huge demand. And due to the global trends of decomposition of the global supply chain, those jobs will be more and more needed, more and more locally, and more as we go due to coronas, due to political and geopolitical issues, etc., etc. I hope I answered. If I didn't, I can go on forever.
It's a great answer. Thank you, Professor Filipi. Do you have something more to add? For now, we don't have more questions. I think we had a very interesting lecture and very interesting presentation, and we gave our guests a lot of information. If you had some other comments that you want to share with us, feel free to share also your opinion on the topic, your comments. Okay, I think that would be everything from the question for now. I would like to thank both Professor Philipi and Associate Dean Martinović for today's lecture, for the presentation, but most of all, I would like to thank you, dear guests, for participating on our MBA Open Days. You are more than welcome to contact us in person for any additional questions and information. We wish you a very nice afternoon and upcoming weekend. See you on our next event or on a personal meeting. Thank you. Bye.